Right before the Bay-splosion of the first live-action Transformers movie, the fans were treated to a small line of Transformers figures, dubbed Classics. The line was so popular that Hasbro saw fit to continue it once the blockbuster movie nonsense died out in the form of Transformers Universe 2.0. Some really amazing figures came out of this line, and some not-so-great figures too. But since you all love lists so much, this is my top 10 picks from that era. For some reason, I always liked Hound as a kid. Every time I saw a Jeep drive by, I thought of him. I never had his original toy, but I did have a Matchbox car that I would pretend was him. So it was a real treat to see Hound make a comeback in this line. And it didn't hurt that he came with a cassette bot in the form of Ravage, in a wonderful nod to the pilot episode of Generation 1. This was a fun set to pick up, as it was essentially a 2-pack. Hound was a little puffier in the proportions, but it was a fun toy, and to this day, it's still one of my favorite versions of the character. Some people dislike this figure. Honestly though, I like it. I like it a lot. It doesn't have the greatest weapon, but it's just a really cool take on the old G1 design. Very stylized, and I felt it fit with the spirit of the alt mode. The lanky, dexterous design just felt appropriate for Mirage, and for me, elevated the character from kinda boring to pretty cool. I think this toy was the biggest shock of the Classics line. Megatron as a gun again. Now, granted, he was designed to look like the Nerf Maverick and not a real gun, but I'll be honest, I think that is frickin' genius. This figure is doing so many things wrong. The colors, the style, the nutty transformation. But it all comes together into this bonkers design that I absolutely love. I don't need Megatron to ever be a gun again. Though he did get one more outing a few years later. But this is one of those toys that just makes me smile every time I look at it. Now, I'll be honest, I could have put any of the seemingly hundreds of versions of this mold in this spot. But I chose Skywarp, because I don't have Thundercracker. Skywarp is awesome though. His colors are great. The black and purple will never not look cool. This mold is still heralded to this day as one of the all-time great Seeker designs, and it honestly deserves it. I've always felt the arms and legs were a bit limited compared to other figures of the time, but overall, this is still a fun figure. It's a blast to transform, and the alt mode? Perfection. Just so fun, and when you have more than one, they just look great together. I was going to do a bit where I say number 6 is Bumblebee, and then switch it out for Cliffjumper because I really don't care about Bumblebee. But it turns out I completely forgot that I gave away my Classics Bumblebee years ago. So, Cliffjumper it is anyway. I like this mold a lot. Great look for the character, decent articulation, and a fun and intuitive transformation. I love the little details like how the seats fold out of the legs. This really was a great figure for its time. Oh, and it came with a little jet ski he could tow. Sunstreaker might be one of the most neglected of the early G1 Autobots. I don't feel like doing the research, but I think even Skids has had more toys than this guy. I've always had a soft spot for Sunstreaker, and I was happy when this toy came out because it meant I could finally own the character. This mold was pretty clever for the time, as it was shared with Sideswipe, but transformed slightly differently, resulting in a different and distinctive look for Sunstreaker. They later used the duality of the mold to create a new punch-counterpunch. I don't own it, but it's just more proof that this was a really clever design. If memory serves, it took me approximately 4 seconds to get over the fact that this version of Onslaught wasn't a combiner. Because sweet Primus, just look at this guy! Just take it in. I love this design for Onslaught. The head sculpt is perfect, and he's packed with gimmicks. From the flip-out arm blaster to the frickin' riot shield, he transforms into a badass SWAT truck with a top-mounted cannon and monstrous wheels that will clearly crush anything and everything in his way. This was such a fun toy. I know from the comments on my Siege Top 10 that a lot of you were wondering how I could have made that list without Jetfire on it. Well, here's the reason. I've owned 2 G1 style Jetfires in my life. The original, awesome toy till it fell apart, and this one. Classics Jetfire is my Jetfire. I have yet to feel the need or compulsion to replace him. Sure, he's a little thick by today's standards, and he can't stand up to save his life, but he's got a charm to him. This Jetfire combines so many elements that I like. His base form evoked Skyfire from the cartoon. When you armored him up, it made him more Jetfire-ish. And his overall design was clearly influenced by the War Within Jetfire, a favorite at the time. So yes, I'm sure Siege Jetfire is fantastic, and maybe someday I will get him. But I like this toy. It's a fun Jetfire. What can I say that I didn't already say in his review video? Classics Optimus is one of my favorite Optimus Prime designs ever. He just looks awesome. I love the colors, the articulation, the hyper-stylized look that still manages to capture all the Classics Optimus Prime design cues. It's just a great toy, with fun integrated weapons and an awesome transformation. For a real long time, I considered this version of Cyclonus to be a top-tier Transformer. It was awesome, even with the handicap of one fist hole. Who cares? He comes with one of the best target masters ever. He's got great posability, awesome sculpting, and a fantastic transformation to a damn good representation of Cyclonus' jet mode. He really was amazing for his time. He's since been replaced on that high pedestal, but I still like this toy. It's fun, and even now I like to pick him up and mess around with him. So there you have my top 10 figures from the Classics era of Transformers toys. I hope you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane. There were so many cool figures from these lines, I probably could have done a top 15 or even a 20. But I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What was your favorite Classics era figure? Was it Prowl? Was it Scourge? Were you the one person that liked Galvatron? It's okay, this is a safe space. If you enjoyed this list, know that I put out new videos every Wednesday. So until next time, thanks for watching.